Ed Gibson thought he was headed for a family vacation at Disney World. He had no idea he was actually headed for a heart attack.
I'm thinking we're living the American dream. Nice marriage, nice house, go to work every day, gainfully employed.
Ed first noticed he had trouble breathing as he walked across the parking lot at work. He was later diagnosed with pneumonia and sent home with antibiotics. But the congestion in his lungs got worse, so he went to the emergency room.
I don't think that they thought, first off, that a young man could be so severely in heart failure.
By the time they discovered Ed's heart problem, his other organs were severely strained.
They bring a cardiologist in and they say that, Mr. Gibson, you're a very sick man. You have a clot in your heart, a blood clot in your heart.
Ed's heart was pumping at only 15% of its normal capacity. This news shocked Ed and his wife, Susan.
This was the first time I'd ever seen him sick. I never thought for an instant that, it was life-threatening.
Ed was moved into the cardiac intensive care unit. Susan, of course, canceled their Disney vacation and called on their church to pray for Ed's healing.
We had received a word, from one of the deacons in our church who had sinned. Was it the mother? Was it the father? We're talking, from John. And it says neither, knowing it's that God would be glorified.
Susan then believed that God was going to use Ed's illness in a way that would glorify himself. So she asked Ed,
"Are you up to this?" And I asked, he says, "Yes." I said, "Well, then that's what's going to happen. God's going to be glorified through this."
Ed was treated with blood thinners to dissolve the clot in his heart, but his body resisted the medicine.
He was on all the appropriate medicines and getting worse.
By the time the clot disappeared, Ed's struggling heart had stressed his other organs, causing serious damage.
His kidneys essentially had failed as well as his heart, and his liver was starting to fail as well.
They tell you, well, the blood clot's not there anymore, it's completely gone. Either one or two things are going to happen. Either your heart's going to repair itself or you're going to need a heart transplant.
Ed couldn't receive a heart transplant. A heart cannot be donated to someone whose other organs are failing. There needs to be a higher probability that the transplant will be successful. So doctors decided to place a mechanical pump inside Ed's chest to help with his failing heart.
What that does is takes over the function of the heart and takes over the pumping capability of the heart to improve the circulation to the liver and the kidneys and every cell in your body. And our hope is that by restoring good circulation, that as time goes by, the patient will improve.
But as doctors prepared Ed for surgery to insert the pump, he suddenly suffered convulsions.
Another set of doctors and nurses had already run to his room, and they were in there, and things were happening. And I remember standing with another minister in our church. We were standing at the foot of the bed, and I said, "God's not going to let him die, and most definitely not in front of me like this."
As Susan prayed, Ed's body relaxed and his condition stabilized. Doctors were able to install the heart pump. Within a few months, Ed's organs began to recover, and soon he found himself at the top of the heart transplant list. During a routine doctor visit, Ed learned some startling news. His heart was recovering also, something doctors did not expect.
We really expected that he'd end up having a transplant. We also don't know why it recovered.
After only 6 months, Ed's surgeon removed the heart pump, which he'd never done before. He discovered that Ed's heart was back to normal.
We were able to take the pump out, and the heart did very well, and the patient did very well.
It was a miracle. They took this thing off in June. June 10th is when it came off. And by September, that first week in September, I went back to work.
2 open heart surgeries, a pump put in, a pump taken out, and actually a year later, we went to Disney World. He got on roller coasters. Within a year, God did all of that.
Ed Gibson is now fully recovered. The only lingering effect from his heart surgeries is the way it has strengthened his faith.
I understand the science, I understand all of that, but this was a really true feat. It was a miracle.
People don't believe miracles are for today. They really miss it.
Watch what you actually say that comes out of your mouth, because you want to make sure it's positive, because God can do anything.